Can we get our attention, please? We need to start as soon as possible because we have only 1 hour and we need to close down. So
1 hour.
we need to get to some questions. I know a lot of you have some questions, but let us go through the PowerPoint so we can answer some of the questions. So we need to start on time, please. We only have 1 hour, that's all.
He wasn't going to say anything.
Sorry.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. And as Mr. Puccial just said, we're short on time. And I just want to clarify something, is that this is not a meeting to decide on incorporating or not incorporating Lehigh Acres. I'll go ahead and introduce myself because I come up on the other side. Reverend Dr. Barry and Staples, and we have been meeting for about 3 years, just kind of talking. I'll go into more of how we started talking about this. But we're here to just kind of meet everybody, and let you know that we've been trying to figure out what we can do in Lehigh Acres, what we can do in Lehigh Acres to make it better. That's either incorporating or not incorporating. Whatever happens, happens. We're not here to take votes. It's not a political voting time right now. There's a lot we need to get through. And I just want to welcome everybody to being here. And I get to see neighbors I never knew I had. So for every neighbor that I don't know, you can give me $20. That means a lot. Walk out the first day it is.
I bet you first $25.
I feel my tip talk.
You good?
I'm not.
Is the table okay?
He's fine.
You know, say,
That's fine.
Just give me claims tonight, please. Anyway, I'd like to get started. I am a reverend, and whatever denomination you might be, Paul said, come Greek, Jew, or Gentile. We all come under the auspices of love. Jesus Christ has loved all. And so I'm not going to get into trying to preach today. You never give a preacher a platform. What may happen. So anyway, I just want to welcome everybody. We have a flag. Everybody want to stand. Everyone stand. Now there's the flag. Use your imagination. There's the flag on the building. Let's all put our hands on our heart. Okay, that's all right. The flag of the United States of America. Stay standing. Oh, dear Heavenly Father, as we come together, Father God, we know that you said that we are your people and you are truly our God. We ask you, Father God, that everybody to have an open mind, an open heart. For you said, come let us all reason together to gain a better understanding what we can do for this great community, for the great people that are here tonight, and those that are not in attendance. We ask you to bless us all with the correct words to say, and as we deliver the message of Lehigh Acres, let us all embrace it and move forward in a positive direction. In the church, we say,
Amen.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I'm still
We find you.
here. Okay, that's my name. The whole name is not Barry. It's not B. My name is Barry. Okay. Okay, and I just want to give you a little history. My wife and I, she's back there at the table in a blue shirt. And so we moved here about 4.5, going on 5 years. And so what happened when we first moved, I grew up from Chicago, Illinois. That's a little town up northeast of here, Chi-Town, the Windy City. And we moved here, and I'm just going to share something with you. Many years ago, I had a cousin that was actually my mother raised my cousin, kind of like she, more like a sister. She moved to Lehigh Acres many years ago, and she told me, you have to move here. You love this place. So we've come down and visit Annette and see her. And she had gone into bout of cancer, and she had gone in remission. And in 2017, she was getting sick again. We came to see her in 2018. I promised her that I would move there because I missed her and I love her. She was more like a sister. So that July 2018, came to see her, and she told me, "Well, I'm glad you got here. Time hope just left." Can you guys not hear me?
That's,
That's
that's the news.
Barry,
It's on.
Barry, you can leave it there.
It's on.
Barry, just for the news camera, you can leave it there.
You can leave it there.
It's not a speaker. You're good.
I don't need my. So the bottom line is, Annette got sick. We left on a Tuesday. I got a call on Friday that she had passed away. But I said, I want to keep my promise. And I stepped out on faith. My wife and I moved here. But before we moved here, we looked at a lot of YouTube. Where's this place? Abraham got told by God, I'm going to send you to a land that you know not. I knew nothing about Lehigh Acres. But it was so interesting when I got here and we started living here. I called my dad, who was a preacher, preaches all of my whole family. I said, "Dad, this place is amazing. I feel like we just entered the Garden of Eden." My dad said just like this, boy, you don't know nothing about being no Garden, no Eden." Okay, Dad, you're right. But it's beautiful. So we embraced just being here in Lehigh Acres and seeing all the, well, in Chicago, they don't have palm trees, okay? And so we embraced being here. Then I thought about this. I said, what about things for people to do? What do people do? I saw, children. I'm also an educator. I work with special ed and at-risk kids. My career, I was a college professor. And did a lot of things for positive growth. And what I noticed that you have all these wonderful people. That's all you all in here. I still want my $20. And so, so I said, what can we do? So I started researching and found out that this is not a city. It's not incorporated. And in Chicago area, I grew up. There's a lot of areas around Chicago that were initially unincorporated areas. And I saw what happened when they got incorporated in terms of monies, in terms of auxiliary services, in terms of a lot of things and growth. And I said, that I don't want to superimpose anything on people, but I want to know if we can talk about it. Talk about it. Some people are for incorporation, some people are not. That doesn't matter to me. At least we can come and reason together to figure out what can we do to make our lives better here together, because we're all neighbors no matter what we do. If we be incorporated, we don't. This is not a both time. So I reached out to some people that have been involved with incorporating efforts before, Mr. Kabushi, and I talked. We just started talking about it, and we got to this point where we've been able to put together some information, and we'll have a lot of different town hall meetings. But the most important thing that you'll hear tonight, whatever we do, it can't be decided unless we have a feasibility study. That's what's important. So let's not get it twisted. This is not for voting. This is to try to come together, as I said earlier, let us reason together. If a feasibility study says no incorporation, they say you can incorporate. You probably can do that for this area. That would be great. I took an estimate. I think someone might help me with this, maybe Muhammad. There might be close to 150,000 people living here. And that's a lot of people. And I really feel that we can grow, and I don't get into taxes and none of that stuff, but I know this is on my mind too. I just got a bill last week about taxes. Y'all get that bill? We talked about that from upstairs. This is a town hall meeting. You will have more town hall meetings, but that's what I want you all to walk out here with today. When you remember my name, remember that I just want us to all come together and think about what we can do. If you're not for incorporating, you know your reasons why. If you are for incorporating, you know your reason why. Judge lest we be judged. We're not going to judge anybody. So let's get together and Have a good time, Mr. Capucci. Okay, I'm done. You want to hear from me anymore?
So again, thank you for being here. One of the reasons we wanted to have a town hall meeting is because previously they've done studies on feasibility study and incorporation, but I don't think they've had a town hall meeting. I don't think they gave you a chance to say something or listen to what they have or why they're doing what they're doing. I've been involved in one of them before. We started, then we stopped, then we continued, and now we're trying to understand more the numbers that we're able to find. And we just wanted to share that information with you. It is our town, we are a community, we have to decide on that. Again, as Reverend Barry said, we're not here to vote, we're here to pass that information to you. And unless we have that feasibility study that's gonna show the dollar signs, whether we can or we cannot, there's nothing we can do about that. So we need to understand that. So again, no judgment. We're not looking at that. I know some of you have a lot of questions. Try to get to those, but if not, email it to us. You want to meet with us, we can sit down and talk. We will have more town hall meetings. We want to hear you as you want to hear us at the same time. We just have some information we want to share with you. Okay, so you guys can also understand, is this feasible, yes or no? So that's what we're standing at, okay? So again, I appreciate that you guys are all here, taking the time just to be away from home, maybe you want to. I don't know. Maybe you're here to get into $20. Who knows? So without further ado, if you want to go ahead and start.
That's the whole point.
Okay, thanks.
That's the point. That's the point.
All right, so why incorporation? Why do we incorporate? So to control our destiny. Destiny we have is to make decisions, right? So right now, we don't have a voice. You can try to reach out to the commissioners or anyone else. We don't have that voice that we can talk about ourselves or say something about that, right? So we want to talk about it and we want to move on with this. So we need to make decisions for businesses, constructions, roadways. We've all seen that. We need to make those decisions. We need to be able to come together on the table and have someone speak on our behalf. Right now, we don't. So that's one of the destinies that we need to do. Most of you, all of you have children, grandchildren, their future also there. That's part of the destiny that we have. I have 2 kids, right? One of them in college, one of them in high school. They graduate, they can't even get a job locally. So we need to talk about all these and we need to have a conversation on it. Keep taxes in Lehigh Acres. We don't know how much taxes goes out of Lehigh Acres. Okay, there's business. Okay, except your $20. Revenant's gonna take. But we don't know how much money leaves Lehigh Acres, including the gas taxes, sales taxes, or any of that. We don't know. Even the county cannot give us a figure, a number of this. Reason for that and the difference between Lehigh and, let's say, Fort Myers. Fort Myers is a city, right? They have boundaries. They know how much money it's coming from these boundaries, from these businesses. Lehigh Acres is unincorporated. So there are other areas in Lee County, unincorporated, that provides taxes also to Lee County. All that money goes into a general account called MSTU. MSTU? Yeah. And from there on, the county will provide services to these unincorporated towns. Also, the 6 cities that we have in the county. So your tax money not only goes to Lehigh, Bukelia, and other places, but it goes also to Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Bonita Springs, and other places, which they are a city, right? That's part of the county general fund. So we want to take charge of that. How much money? We don't know, but there's a lot of money. Most of you drives, think about every gallon of gas that you put, 12 cents goes to the county. How many gallons you put per week and how much do you use per month? So we need to look at these now, not taking credit from the county or the county commissioners. They're doing their jobs, they're elected to do something. We're not here to talk bad about them or talk bad about the county. We're here to see what we can do. Okay, we want our own destiny, we want our own town. So those are part of the taxes. Payroll taxes and all that goes, federal and goes to budget and stuff. So that's as far as taxes. Proper control over zoning, commercial, residential. So if we're gonna talk about residential, we have a big area, right? So let me put it this way. Lehigh Acres used to be 110 square miles, right? We're at 96. So it's been annexed into like 4 miles. We are the largest unincorporated town in the state of Florida. Not only Lee County, the entire state, if not the nation, could count. But
One of the 5 in the nation.
there you go. So, and that's important to us. We, like I said, we're up to maybe 150. We don't know the exact numbers, but we're gonna go through some numbers that we found. But we're there. We're growing, right? So, and it's gonna continue to grow. We have people, sadly, because of Hurricane Ian, moved from the beach and Sanibel. They moved to Lehigh because they couldn't control back anymore. They couldn't have what they had in Fort Myers Beach or Sanibel Island, beautiful places, right? They moved to Lehigh. We have people coming from the East Coast. We have people coming from the west, northwest of us, from north. Snowbirds becoming permanent down in Lehigh Acres, and they're buying houses, right? So they're pouring that money into our town. They're building new homes. Every home that you build, there's $20,000. Startup construction goes to the county. That nobody sees. So all that money we can benefit from, right? So these are part of the taxes that we're going to talk about. Again, zoning, construction, let's say commercial. We only have 3 major lanes or boulevards with construction, with the commercial lanes, right? Homestead Road, Joel Boulevard, and Lee Boulevard, right? All the others are sections where we have commercial zones. These are the only places we can build businesses on that. Okay? We don't have major businesses. We have moms and pops, bless their hearts, but we don't have major businesses, right? We have Walmart, great, right? We have Publix, and we have Aldi now coming in, but we don't have major businesses, restaurants, franchises. We do have a lot of car washes. So, there's more coming in. But for the next 5 years, if you look at our website and you look at the Lee County website too, there's a lot of projects coming into Lehigh Acres, right? Any single small development they can put commercially, they're trying to add those, right? There's talk about a small shopping center coming out, but it's not going to be ready for another 5 to 10 years. If you know how things work between the county and the state, they have to do a 5-year study, 5 years implementation. There's 10 years out of our lives is gone before we see any of that. Okay, we're not getting young. That's all I can say. I mean, towards this, but we can do something about this. Okay. Again, all this is just thought and understanding where we're coming from. Improve quality of service and safety, quality of services. So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm going to take Okelia. It's about 11.2 square miles. I'm going to take Lehigh Acres, 96 square miles, maybe 94. Let's say that. So the service that the county provide is not based on the 11 square miles and the 94 square miles, right? They provide the same amount of service to both towns, right? Now, yeah, they do. You got to share. Hold on, we're not talking about a sheriff department. We're gonna get to that. The services they provide, right? But the amount of service they're providing is the same for here and the same for the other town, right? Let's take roadways. Take the sheriff. Okay, we have 11, 12 deputies here in Lehigh Acres. How many deputies do you think they have? 3 or 4. That's not the same amount. Roadways, right? We get roadways that have $5 million being provided here to Lehigh Acres. Take the same $5 million, put in Kelia, how many roads you can cover? More roadways, all of them is not, right? What we're talking about is the space that we have, it's wide open and it's bigger than another town. So when they provide the service, it looks like we're not getting enough service, right? But we're getting the same service, the same amount of service that other towns are getting, unincorporated, not cities, right? But it looks like they're getting more, that's not the fact. It should not be that way. It should be by the area, it should be how big it is and what we need, right? Because when you pay taxes, well, guess what? 150,000 people, let's say 100,000 people working in the labor, providing taxes versus 35,000 people lives in Mokelia. That's a big chunk of money that's coming out of us, right? But then at the same time, we're getting the same amount of service that Mokelia is getting. Out of 35,000.
taxes or property taxes?
No, we're talking about property taxes, gas taxes, all that kind of stuff. It's, take the charge of that. The amount that's coming, you have more gas stations than you have in Mokelia, right? At 12 cents a gallon, you sell 1 million.
You think the county is gonna give up that 12 cents?
They're not gonna. Well, hold on, if we become incorporated, yes. Yes, it is, it's ours. Become the city, trust me on that one. It's not up to them to give it or not. This is the city that you're.
They're still gonna collect that gas tax. They're still gonna collect property tax. They're still gonna collect that gas tax.
We are
And
gonna
like property tax. And on top of that. You're gonna get taxed.
If we can keep the question to the end, please.
Okay. We'll have time for discussion afterwards.
Safety, we're talking about safety. So the sheriff's office, they have about 11, 12 deputies, maybe 3 or 4 detectives, right? They're doing as much as they can. But we're growing in numbers. The calls are getting more and more. So people are they're calling the sheriff, they need more help for whatever reason they're calling for. Those 11, 12 deputies, they can't be split in so many places, right? That's 1. 2, there's time where snowbirds come down over here during the season, the high season. Some of them are not working now. Some of them have been assigned to a different location, right? So we lose protection down over here. If we incorporate, we have the right to ask more. Okay, talk about the numbers. I know you guys have questions about the numbers, but we don't have to have our own police department, for instance. Code enforcement, right? Dumping. How many comments have you guys seen on Nextdoor and Facebook about dumping and, right? Whether contractors dumping, whether private citizen dumping. I mean, last week someone dumped chairs on the street where we live on. You know, I mean, trash, you know, they fix an air condition, they clear out the whole thing and they dump it out. So we need more control of this, okay? Code enforcement, they come down, they have 1 or 2 deputies that come down over here, but that's all they can do. Because they have other towns they need to get to, right?
Some of them live out here in the very neighborhood that we live in.
They do.
That could
Let's keep.
make the report themselves when they get back to the office.
Correct.
Now the new rule is, you can't call it anonymously.
And I can tell you what.
You have to give them your name, your address, and
Okay.
everything.
Let me,
And those people that work.
I hear you, but give me a chance.
They're in the same neighborhood.
I understand.
Let us
Let's get the questions
No,
later, but just
It would be
answer.
nice, it would be really good if we listen to what they have to say and then inhale everything, then bring up your questions. Like they said, we have a limited amount of time.
Okay, but
So let's do it. And or make your notes and they will take it, I'm almost sure.
Alright, so just to give you.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, we'll get. Just to give you an answer, if that anonymous person calls the sheriff, the code enforcement and say, the gentleman over here, hold on, just give me a second. The gentleman over here is dumping stuff on his road, right? And that case goes to the court. How do you think the sheriff or the code enforcement is gonna respond to that?
Excuse me,
Who called it in?
people, exactly.
I'm just saying.
But the code
Alright,
enforcement
Okay,
people.
but let's just move on. Let's just move on.
Let me, hold it a second, young lady. Let me help you. Legally, before anyone can act on anything, there has to be a victim identified before they can do anything.
Right.
That's federal law. So you can't do it anonymously. You have to be identified for anything. Okay, but we'll,
In the neighborhood.
I understand that, but but I'm telling you, that's the law. It has nothing to do with you personally. That's all. Go ahead. Go ahead. Put
All
out.
right, let's move on, guys. Let's move on, please. Please, let's move on. Okay. Creation of more local jobs. High schoolers graduating from high school. We have what? Lehigh seniors, Riverdale, Eastleigh, Lehigh seniors. So every year, each school have about what, 500 to 700 seniors who graduate, right? Some of them go to colleges, universities, skills jobs, whatever they want. And some of them, they just don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to continue education. They want to work, right? They have to go to Fort Myers to find jobs or other places. We need to bring in more jobs. And by saying that, I'm not talking about just any other job. We're talking about distribution centers, trades, major big warehouses maybe, and stuff that can keep those folks over here. The more jobs we can create, the more kids we have them off the road, not doing drugs or stealing cars or doing anything bad they shouldn't have done. So in a way, just to control that. So we need to create those jobs.
You're talking about like big box stores, those Home Depot.
Okay, keep going now. Keep going.
Prevent Fort Myers annexation. We lost already over 10 square miles to Fort Myers. Just so that you know, driving from Colonial, you get into 82 and getting into Lee Boulevard. You all know what that is, right? Okay. All this on the right-hand side going east on Lee Boulevard all the way to Alvin, that belongs to Fort Myers. Even though that they are located in Lehigh Acres, their sales tax, any benefits goes actually to Fort Myers. We don't get any penny of that. But right now, the county doesn't get it, right? They get the fair share, but they don't get any of that money. And they might have plans to even push more. Question is, we want them to push for more or no? So,
Go to the next one. Let's go to the next one.
hang on, guys. All right. Closer citizen to government relationship. What we're looking for that is actually, you want someone that can listen to you, right? You want to have a meeting with commissioners, you want to have a meeting with elected officials. You're going to call, you can have it, they will respond back to you, but that's way down the road. Okay, we want them to be more close to it. We want a place where you can actually go in, not drive about an hour to get to that location. You want somewhere over here that you can get to. Your city council or manager, whatever decision we decide on if we incorporate. So this is a government that you want to have communication with and decide and be able to reach out to them and figure out exactly economic plans or any other plans that are working. Okay, not just look at the websites. More potential revenue sources. Do you know that there are grants and state, federal that we can collect if you become incorporated? Right now, it goes to the county. The county gets that under the name of Lehigh Acres and get distributed to everyone else. Right? So we can keep that over here. That can pay for some stuff that we want to do. Beautification, anything commercially we can push, we can invite businesses come over here, buy land and work some kind of tax budget for them. There's plenty of areas, gray areas that we can work on. But those money, those grants and revenues, right now we don't see any of them. If we do incorporate, we'll have a chance to get that money.
Didn't the fire department used to get grants?
Keep going
The
there.
fire department is a special district, they have their own.
Didn't they used to get grants?
No,
Yeah.
no, keep going. No, keep
I don't
going. No,
I don't
keep
know.
going.
How about this?
No, no, no.
All right, so if we incorporate, if we do incorporate, potential annexation by Fort Myers and subject to higher tax rates. So there's a thought about that. We can stop miles from annexing into Lehigh and take portions of our town. They don't have to do that. They're gonna have to come to us and talk about it. We can go after them if you want to. All the $20 you're gonna give them, we can use that. Higher taxes. Are taxes gonna go up, yes or no? Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yes.
Can you work out?
Okay.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yes.
Village of Estero, they lowered their taxes. We're gonna take a look at the tax rates right now. We have some numbers. They lowered their taxes. They've done a program, they outsourced businesses and different services to different companies, right? They came out with that formula and it worked out. They lowered their taxes actually. You know, there's other towns also they lowered their taxes. You incorporate, there's 2 taxes that we lose. We don't have to pay for them anymore. You're gonna see them. So these are stuff we can take that money and add it and use that. Okay, so we don't know if tax is gonna go up. We don't know if taxes are gonna go down yet. Feasibility study is the one that's gonna tell us all this. Lesser quality level of services. Again, what services are we taking right now? Right, they cut the grass. We got garbage collection, code enforcement. That's about it. We have the fire department when you need them, they call them. You get the sheriff when you call them, they'll show up, right? But we're limited. We're limited on all this. We can get better services. We can get maybe build more firehouses. I hope we can do that. You know, there's plans for this too, by the way. No control over budget and money spent in Lehigh. Right now, we don't have any control. We have 0 control. We don't have a say on that. So we can control all this. We can decide our budget. We can decide how we write it, and everything will be provided to us. The budget will be our budget to decide on. The budget will be our numbers that we can work with based on taxes and grants that we can collect. And we'll work with them. We'll find a way to. And that if we incorporate, if we don't. Lack of control over zoning. That you might want to.
Right now, the county legally has to accept and approve pretty much any development, unless it goes against the LEED plan, which the county will work with the developer to make the developments acceptable to the plan. Pretty much all developments get accepted. By being incorporated, we can have our own plan, our own zoning ordinances, and we can deny things and accept things at a different level than the county does currently.
And that ties with the expansion of commercial areas. As I said earlier, we don't have enough commercial areas, right? They don't want to expand on this, right? So, but we have areas that we can work with. Okay, so those comes together at the same time. Longer commute to 4 miles for services. You know, I mean, we got a lot of services, you know, doctors, dentists, hospitals, jobs. You know, you drive, we go to, give me a second. You want to go shopping? Probably most of you do online shopping right now. But if you want to go shopping, that commute is hectic, right? Now, here's the thing. Folks in Fort Myers, they love you when you come to them and shop at the shops to make your money, right? Once you shop what they do. You need to get out of here, go back to your own house, right? Just figure out a second. But these are the stuff that we are talking about, you know, less commute. You want to work, why can't we find the jobs over here that we can maintain? Some good jobs that we can work here in Lehigh Acres. So let's keep them here. Let's generate those jobs, you know.
The other side of the services aspect was, you know, having a city, or, you know, you have to go, if you're going to put a shed on your property, you have to have a permit. You got to go to the county to, you know, go to the county to get that permit done. Or if you want to go to a county meeting, you got to go to the county. You know, if we're a city, you know, all that permitting, that whole aspect of what you have to work with to get done, it's closer. You have to
So
drive.
now work permits. You want to get a permit, you have to go down to the
No
county.
difference.
We can have a building
City
here
or
and have our own
county.
permit.
You gotta go to somebody.
We'll keep working
What's
on
the
that. So,
difference? Look at the big difference.
misconception. So adding a layer of government, yeah, we are going to become a government. Gonna add a layer eventually. What that does, it allows for higher quality service, closer citizen to government relationship, we touched base on that. Allows for local control and smart growth. Again, jobs, these are the smart growth that we're gonna get. Hopefully more schools, we desperately need at least 2 more schools, high school and middle school. Do we pay more money, more taxes? Some existing taxes will go away. We're gonna see the numbers right now. And unknown city taxes until completion of feasibility study. So that's why feasibility study is so important, because the feasibility study will tell us exactly how much money kind of like coming in, how much money we can generate, and the tax dollars will show up. And as Reverend Marion said, if those tax money shows positive and you guys want to incorporate, by all means do it. If those tax dollars shows not enough, put it on the table, let's move forward. Let's just put this for once for all. Whether we sleep on it and move on, or whether we incorporate. That's something we need to talk about. So that feasibility study will be the one that we decide on. All right, so you want to talk about that? I'll continue. So this spot over here, this is what is projected. That's what the county projected. These numbers are from the county and the census bureaus. In 2010, 2010 right here, they said we're going to be at 61,000 population, right? The actual numbers under the Census Bureau, we are at 86,784, right? That's 30% if you do the numbers. 30% more. 2020, they said we're going to be at 103,000 people. The Census Bureau came out with 114. That's in 2020. We know from 2020 to 23, another 20,000 people moved in, right? So we're at 130, give and take. So we have from this number to this number over here, there's at least 10% increase. And by now we have another 10% added to it. So numbers are adding up. People are moving in, and they're moving in because there's something better. Like we have something special down here in Lehigh. Lee County population, we're up to 212%. That's the entire county, not just Lehigh. Taxes, let's talk about taxes. Some of you have questions about that. Not all of you, I do. All right, Estero right now, they pay 0.77 tax as a city, not talking about the county. The fire department is at 2.13, you add that to the 0.77. Bonita Spring is 0.8173, the fire department is at 2.18. You add that to the 0.81. Fort Myers Beach has 99.99 and they have 2.98, so that goes up to almost 4. Sanibel Island at 1.975, and then they have a separate, the fire department is at 1.3089. Cape Coral, 5.5568, they have their own police department and their own fire department. We don't have the numbers on the taxes, how much they raise. Fort Myers at 7.5, they also have their own police department and their own fire department. The Lee County General Fund revenue is at 3.86. The Lee County unincorporated MSTU is at 0.8, and the Lehigh Acres Lighting District at 0.746. If you guys decide to incorporate and vote on that, those two will be absorbed into the city taxes, will be gone. You're not going to see those anymore. So we're talking about probably 1.56, 1.6% of taxes will be gone. You're not going to see those anymore. Those will disappear. Okay. How much we're paying taxes right now? Right over here, 0.839. And this is from a trend. You guys received that trend paper a couple weeks ago, right? So if you look at it, this is the actual tax that you're paying. Just so you understand the numbers. If it's being agreed on, if the budget passes, you're going to be paying that. Otherwise, you'll pay something different, right? You just need to look at your trend and then decide exactly what's going to happen. The county holds a meeting all about this. The public is always invited and welcome to go down to the county and share your opinions. You're allowed for 2 minutes to speak. So, you know, just show up to those meetings. They have a Zoom meeting. You can go online and watch those meetings. We do. Every week they have a meeting. A lot of people, a lot of folks go down and talk to us and stuff. So those are copies of the taxes that we were able to find from we Derek contacted, Estero, Bonita from ISO, we got those we got them from the county. And hopefully they'll be beneficial to us to understand exactly what we're paying. That's the trim you're talking about. This is the copy of the letter that you all received. So Lee County, what is it? Right over here, that's the one. That's the tax you're gonna be paying. That's last year, which is 2021, 2022. If it passes or not passes, these are the rates. So look at the papers. When they send you that paper, please look at it and understand it. Study it if you have to. Ask questions. You're allowed to call the county and ask for that, or your taxpayers. So it's important why they send you those, that information. So those are the maps. I'm gonna leave it there.
If we were to incorporate, like I said, this is not about whether we incorporate or not. This is about getting the information and about getting a feasibility study. If you're against incorporation, you might be still in favor of a feasibility study, because if the feasibility study comes back negative, now you've proved your point that you don't want incorporation because of the reasons of high taxes. So you can put the argument to bed. You know what I'm saying? If you're for incorporation, you can see if it's possible. It's all about getting the feasibility study. That's what's needed. Within that feasibility study, you kind of have to pick your borders. So we have the county established border in the middle there. We have the Lehigh Fire District on the right and Lampstead border on the left. Those are basically the Lehigh borders that we have. If Lampstead were to be able to do a feasibility study on there, because they are kind of our municipality that's set up within our area to potentially become the government. It's the way it's set up right now. They would probably use their border. That also includes part of Hendry County even. So these are just some options. If we do get the money to be able to get a feasibility study, we'll be forming committees to discuss these things, decide on what we think, and have more town hall meetings to get an input on what direction you'd want to go. Do we want to go with the county's established border? Would we want to go with the fire border, Lampstead border, so on. So,
And each one is bigger than the other one. Like Lancet is bigger than the one that the county does, and the fire district also occupy a bigger version because they respond to more areas, right?
Here,
I think they're about 140 square miles or so.
Isn't that yellow part Alva?
No, that's that's Alva.
this is not Alva. This is not Alva. This is Lehigh.
Oh, that's
This area right here, this area has a zip code and address of Elva. It is not Elva. According to the county, it is still part of Lehigh. According to Lancet, it is part of Lehigh. According to the fire, it is part of Lehigh. So even though it has a zip code, right about in here, this area here has a.
we're gonna talk about that in a minute.
Right now, this is our current zonings that we have, kind of our where our commercial areas are, where we can potentially put commercial areas. Is there area for expansion? Some here, maybe some along Sunshine Road potentially, because it's going to become, Sunshine is going to become a thoroughfare when the Alico extension comes in here.
6 lanes.
It'll eventually be
6 lanes.
6 lanes eventually. So we just wanted to show that. The hypothetical timeline of incorporation. So if we were to be able to come up with the funds to be able to get a feasibility study, let's say we can get a feasibility study started by July of next year. Hypothetically, that could take 6 to 9 months. Another 3 months to write a city charter that would be required. Committees would need to be formed. That charter would be written. That charter would need to be submitted to the legislation by September. The House, I think, meets first in the fall, and then the Senate meets in the March, I think.
Right. 26.
So that has to be, the city charter has to be approved by the House, by the Senate, It has to be a charter, has to include a feasibility study. I think it also has to include a petition signed by 10,000 residents, I believe.
Residents or homeowners?
Residents.
Residents,
So somebody that rents.
registered voters, whether you are a renter, registered voters, you are a registered voter. So if it is approved by the House, if it is approved by Senate, then it goes to the governor, it's signed by the governor. Hypothetically, that would be June 26th. Hypothetically, it could then be on a ballot for us all as a community to vote on the 2026 election.
So it takes about a year and a half just to start the feasibility study until it gets to the governor's desk. It's about 18 months for all that process, because legislature, they need to study that, they need to understand. So when our representative presents it to become a bill, she needs or he needs to expand on that and talk to them about it. So they all have that copy, but they need to explain the details on it and why we need to become incorporated, right? And then it goes to the Senate, they'll do the same thing and send it to the governors.
What's the cost of the feasibility study?
Yes,
I didn't introduce myself. I'm Derek Felder. I am the current president of our group, United Lehigh. So we have gotten one quote currently for a feasibility study. They're estimating to be around $65,000.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Derek Felder. What the feasibility study will tell us is it'll tell us what our revenues are. Those are from your ad valorem. Property taxes, there's state funding, state grant they talked about, gas tax. The feasibility study will then also tell us what are our costs. What are the services that will be provided? Are you going to contract those services to the county still? Are you going to contract those services? Are you going to provide your own services? Are you going to contract out your lawn maintenance? Or are you going to have a staff on the city that would provide that lawn maintenance? Those are all things that would need to be decided and talked about, and those are things that can be that the feasibility study will tell us. So in the end, if we can get a feasibility study done, the goal is to be able to say, what would the hypothetical tax be for you? What would our city tax be? How much of a city tax do we need in order to be a city? That's what the feasibility study will tell us. If that tax is low enough and we can all see the benefits to it, we can vote in favor of it. If the tax would be too high, I'm right there with you. I'm not for it if the tax is too high. It wouldn't make sense. I don't want to pay more in taxes.
One thing, this is telling us what it would cost. Will it also show in the meantime how much the county is providing dollar-wise to Lehigh? So we can compare, this is what it's going to be. If we incorporate, this is what we're already getting. There should be a crossover there.
So the question is do we have the numbers essentially on it?
Yeah.
Question is, do we have the numbers to, what is the county providing us currently? We've gotten some numbers, but it's difficult to get the exact numbers because unincorporated Lee County is all one group, and we're Lehigh. So how do you take the provided services and the cost of, I forget what the total area is, but all of incorporated Lee County and say, how much is it costing for Lehigh? So that's the difficult part. And with that, I'm going to ask for Mr. Swank to join us.
Is there a grant?
Yes, gonna introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I'm with Swank. Derek and I started talking not too long ago. He's doing a grassroots effort making this happen, so it's astonishing there's this many people here. I've been going, so I run an insurance agency here in town and have to deal with a lot of politicians, government. I talk to Tallahassee all the time. So I was kind of taking a different route, which is talking to like Tiffany Esposito, for instance. She's our representative. She lived in Lehigh for 7 years. She was one of the people responsible for the last feasibility study that was done. And what's curious about the last feasibility study, was it 2012? What was the year?
2007 is when I was.
06, 07.
8?
2006, 2007.
Oh, yeah. Well, that doesn't jive with what she was telling me.
We did one on 2012. Go ahead. Closer to 2012.
Okay, that was my, I think there was a movement basically that kind of got scuttled. But the feasibility study in 2012, I mean, if anyone was here then, I mean, people were buying properties online for $40,000 on eBay.
Right.
And so the tax base, how this is all predicated, how you actually pay for stuff, it's what are the taxes, or what are the homes valued, basically, and then how much taxes do those generate? And when a house down the road from me sold for $400,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, doesn't even have a pool. So 40,000 to 400,000. Obviously, the valuations are significantly higher. And at the time, the math kind of made sense, but not perfect. But it's safe to assume, I would imagine, with our current property valuations, this feasibility study should be no-brainer. So, and I think our biggest obstacle is getting the $65,000. So I would say, if anybody, I mean, Tiffany Esposito came and knocked on my door, and she probably knocked, I can't remember your doors too. I was mowing the lawn, sweaty mess. She comes up, she's a sweaty mess. She's knocking all kinds of doors. So are there any governmental people here?
There's one.
Okay.
We have representative and we have.
Running? Okay, good. Thank you for being here. So, but, you know, this is part and parcel for how it works. You know, part of the whole reason I started doing it, I started fighting the school district. They're appalling. They do not give us the resources we need. They move teachers and principals around constantly. It's psychotic the way they approach things. Then it started barking at the county commission because they don't do stuff here. You got to raise holy hell to get them to even look this side of I-75. So the more I did it, it just became increasingly clear. If you're on this side of I-75, they don't care about it. And they're in there. There's nowhere near enough. So I write an article once in the DC War, and it's basically we all collectively have to bark loud. We're not barking. And you know, a analogy I use, you know, this Summerlin, there's like a flyover to get to Sanibel.
Yeah.
The people on Sanibel know how to move levers. You mean, like, why would they put a flyover at like Colonial and 6 Mile Cypress? I mean, that's the biggest bottleneck that we have. But the people in Sanibel are far more effective at getting things done than we are, and we far outnumber them. So it seems to me a no-brainer that if we have local control, we've got a local government that can take care of our own, we'll be better off. So, you know, for it, against it, I think these gentlemen make a very good case. The feasibility study is going to make it clear. I mean, I deal with numbers all day long. That's all I deal with, basically. And it's feasible, and it seems like a no-brainer. If it's not feasible and it's going to cost too much money, then I would assume every single person, or at least vast majority of us, unless you're economic masochists, would say no. But if it does make sense, we should do it, because I don't see the other side of I-75 changing the way they approach us until we get greater control. So I would just say, for the near term, all due respect, sir, but she's currently in office, I would say email Tiffany Esposito, she's easy to find online, and say, I'd like you to fund this feasibility study. I've sat down with her. She was integral in making the last one happen. So she's got history. She knows how to make it happen. And when I talked to her in my office, and she said, yeah, this is absolutely part of what I'm supposed to be doing. But I can't be the only person barking at her saying this is something we need done. You know, more and more. She gets 30 emails tomorrow that say feasibility study, she'll hop to it. And everybody's human. You got enough on your plate to do. But 30 people start barking at you, that thing's going to move up to the top of the list real quick. That's, I think, everything I have to say.
Thank you.
Just to add a little on what Mr. Schwein said, we did meet with also Commissioner Greenwell, and today, in fact, before this meeting, we did meet also with Representative Esposito, and we brought that idea to them. we're coming from a point of communicating with our local elected and state elected, so we brought the ideas to them. Whether they're for it or not, that's something is gonna depend on that feasibility study that we have. So, but they know about our grassroots and they are aware of what we're working on. Just for them to understand that we have a voice and we need someone to hear our voices. Is Mr. Lindsay here? All right, so I'm gonna introduce Mr. Lindsay from Lancet. He has a few things also to share with you. Again, he's gonna provide some information.
Hey, everybody. Well, I don't know if everybody knows who Lancet is. We used to be Sioux County Water Control District. We were created in 1958. And in 2015, Matt Caldwell and his representative, he brought a bill to Tallahassee to give East County Water Control the ability someday to help the corporation by giving us the ability to pick up 6 new powers that the county has. And as we picked up those powers, we would have enough powers to go ahead and do an incorporation study. We've had some problems getting some of those powers from the county, so we don't have enough powers to do that incorporation study at this time. But our board decided, they've been talking about it quite a while, and our board decided 6 months or so ago that we wanted to take a bill to Tallahassee this year to give us the ability to do an incorporation study, to create, not only do the incorporation study, but to create a committee of citizens to oversee and critique the feasibility study. And if the feasibility study came out mostly favorable, we would be able to use our money again to create the city charter. That bill we presented to Representative Esposito, and she certainly understands the problems of Lehigh. Somebody, I think Butch said, she lived here for 7 years. She felt like that we needed to give another opportunity to Mike Greenwell and to our new county manager, David Harner, to come up and bring a lot of these services and start to fix some of our problems before she would take a bill like that to Tallahassee. So we do have a meeting set up from Lancet to meet with Mike Greenwell and the county manager and some of the county staff. Talk about what Lehigh needs, and a lot of it is identical to what was on the screen. And that meeting is coming, I believe, October 5th. She did say that if the county is unwilling to provide us what we need to get Lehigh better organized moving forward, that she'd be willing at next year to take that bill to Tallahassee, where we could use our excess funds that aren't from tax dollars to do that incorporation study. So that's where we are with that, and we're going to keep pushing on our end with Representative Esposito and with the county to get something done. That's all I've got. If anybody has any questions?
We got about a couple more minutes, folks, okay? Because we have to shut
Okay,
it down.
I understand part behind that's all congested once we incorporate it because there's sewer and wells are close together and all that. But what about the people that Lehigh Acres have acres, don't want it because we're fine with our wells and we're fine with it.
Okay.
So are you talking the whole
tell you-
Lehigh?
Right now.
want to live in a city.
Sewer and water, that's what you're talking about, sewer and water has nothing to do with incorporation. That is done by FDUA and the county currently. The county currently has a plan in place to expand the sewer water system that's in place right now with FDUA. That is not with the incorporation, okay? So there is a big misunderstanding that people think, oh, incorporation, or we're gonna end up like Cape Coral, and they're gonna push this sewer and water on us. It's being pushed on you now by the county already.
Yeah.
There's a plan in place, it's coming.
So
It might not be coming to all of it, but there are areas of Lehigh that will be getting.
Lee County, they have on their website the areas where they want to implement water and sewer. We as incorporation, we're not looking at that. We're not even talking about that. We're not even opening the subject. Okay, whether we want to do sewer or stay on well, I have well. I'd like to keep it, but you know, That's the county, and they have plans, they have areas, I don't know, you have some copies on that? They want to implement that. Okay, I want to read a couple of things, but I think someone here mentioned. Yeah, you mentioned, thank you.
Thanks, David.
We might have to- yeah. Right. So in the past, Lee County, the commissioners were able to get $50,000 grant to do part of the feasibility study, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So we're trying to find that money also. We're hoping we can, but basically to do that, fundraising will be, hopefully we can do some fundraisings. Not asking for your checkbooks, he's asking for $20.
That's right. It goes for the feasibility study.
Yeah.
$65,000.
Yes,
We were getting 15,000.
right, that would help.
We'd have to raise $15,000.
That's it.
Correct.
Now we have $100,000, 100 and some people, 1,000 people here, right? $1 each person.
Yeah, I know.
Just saying, just saying. Hi, just a couple more things I'm gonna read from here, and then please, if you have any comments or you have any questions, email it to us. Try to reach out, we'll reach with you. We will have another town hall meetings. We're gonna try to collect more information. And hopefully we have a bigger window and we can answer questions. It'll be Q&A. Is this initiative on the ballot next year? We're hoping by 2026 because it takes about 18 months at least to put it on the ballot. So there's a process, right?
If
It does. How long until we generate substantial commercial lease of anchor stores? So once we have the city, you want to go back to that commercial area? The map. And we said there's 3 major areas for commercial: Homestead, Lee Boulevard, and Joe Boulevard. Those are the major ones, right? But there's some spots also in between. You're gonna see on all these red spots, potential future commercial areas we're talking about, okay? These are studies being conducted by the county. Hopefully we'll be able, so you will find these maps on the county website too. Okay, we just took the liberty there, did most of it, and we get that information for you guys. This is our purpose tonight. Okay, so with that being said, it's 7:30, guys. We have to wrap it up. Thank you for coming.
One question, okay?
Go ahead.
You called us here for an hour. Yeah, all these people say stuff, y'all run your mouth this whole time.
Informational meetings.
We said it's a town hall meeting to talk about feasibility study.
Nobody said at the beginning.